remarkable individuals onto the stage. Ms. Veena Raman lead us through this engaging conversation about this incredible journey. Please join me in welcoming them with a big round of applause. I would also like to call DGMP Kailash Mangwana ji. He is present with us. Can we welcome him with a huge round of applause? Before we dive into the session, we have an exciting ceremony that truly sets the tone for today. That is the official launch of Did I Really Do All This by Veena Raman ji, for which I would also call a society member, Dr. Meera Das ma'am, on the dais, and we'll launch the book. Yeah. Just for the launch. Yeah. Give them. This book is not just a biography, it is a window into the life of Shri Vijay Raman, a legendary IPS officer whose contributions have left us an indelible mark on our nation. From the daring encounter and dacoit with Pan Singh Tomar to leading the operation against the terrorist, from being a protector of 4 Indian Prime Ministers to breaking Guinness World Record, his life was a saga of courage and commitment. Can we give them a huge round of applause for unveiling this amazing, amazing book? Thank you so much. Here at the Bhopal Literature Festival 2025, words breathe life into ideas and stories echo across generations. In this session, we gather to celebrate the life and the legacy of one of India's bravest heroes, Vijay Raman ji, through the eyes of an equally remarkable author, Veena Raman ji. This session is not just a tribute, but a window into the life of an unparalleled bravery, resilience, and commitment to justice. Allow me to introduce the incredible minds behind today's discussion. Veena Raman ji, our author here, is a woman of many facets. A graduate of Nagpur University with a diploma in travel and tourism management, she has dedicated 29 years to promoting the heritage and the beauty of Madhya Pradesh as the Deputy General Manager Marketing of Madhya Pradesh Tourism. She has represented Madhya Pradesh on international stages, promoting tourism in London, Berlin, among others. Beyond her professional accomplishments, she is an athlete who represented India in senior women's hockey in 1975. An adventurer by nature, she has explored the realms of white water rafting, trekking, paragliding, and much more. Veena ji's passion for storytelling and adventure converges beautifully in her tribute to Vijay Raman's remarkable life. We are glad to have you with us, ma'am. Joining her is Pawan Srivastava ji, an IPS officer currently serving as ADG CID of Madhya Pradesh Police. His career is a testament to excellence and innovation. From leading battalions of the Special Armed Force to establishing an anti-terrorist squad in Madhya Pradesh, his contributions have been groundbreaking. A recipient to honors like President's Police Medal for Distinguished Service, he has also developed a mobile app and SOPs for crime scene management, blending technology with law enforcement. His interests span from philosophy to a lot of things, showing his versatility and his curiosity. Together, Veena Raman ji and Pavan Srivastava ji will take us on a journey into the life of Vijay Raman, a story of grit, courage and service that shaped a legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome all our speakers and our author over here. Can we give them a huge round of applause as we start the session?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and madam and sir. Welcome to the 7th edition of Bhopal Art and Literature Festival 2025. I have been tasked with very, very difficult work, tasked by the organizers to have a conversation with Mrs. Veena Raman regarding her husband, late Vijay Raman sir's book. Did I really do it? It is a memoir, and there are snippets of his life in the book. Sir also in the book meanders through his personal life. He has been an obedient son, a loving husband, and a doting father. He was physically very tall, and even taller was his personality in the Indian police. He shall ever be remembered as a towering personality. This is my first time that I am having a conversation like this. So I start with the caveat. If I do any mistakes, kindly forgive me. So ma'am, to start with, I understand that the publication of the book was very, very difficult. Would you like to speak about your travails of publishing this book?
Okay. Hello. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank Bhopal Literature Festival organization as well as Mr. Raghav Chandra and his team for giving me this opportunity to bring my husband's book on this prestigious platform. Of course, it was not very easy. Vijay has been from this cadre, and many of you know him. And Madhya Pradesh was very, very dear to his heart. When he was in the National Police Academy, he had gone to the store, and where he heard the storekeeper tell one of the probationers, someone must have asked him as to, okay, can we get this medal? So he says, you have to earn this medal. You cannot purchase it. And probably, though Vijay had already won 3 gold medals in his law degree, he secretly sort of was filled with determination that he has to earn this medal one day, which he subsequently did. Over the years, he got the President's Police Medal for Gallantry, President's Police Medal for Distinguished Service, President's Police Medal for Meritorious Service. He was like a real hero, not like a filmy hero, but if you hear his story in the book, he sounds like a filmy hero. But his life was such that he actually worked hard, and you will see that the Pansing encounter, these are the accounts which he has actually put down in his book. The account like Pansing encounter and his gang, how they were decimated, and which also had this effect of basically Malkhan Singh and Phulan Devi surrendering. Then he spearheaded the attack on the terrorist Ghazi Baba, who was the mastermind behind the parliament attack.
I'll be asking about all of them separately.
Okay, so just to give you a brief, that his life is very unique. I mean, it was just not policing. When he was working with the 4 prime ministers, Rajiv Gandhi, Narasimha Rao, VP Singh, Chandrasekhar, he took some leave and he went on his adventurous trip. He broke the Guinness World Record for going around the world in 39 days, 7 hours, 55 minutes, which was a record which they broke of the British Army. So his entire journey, every posting you will find was very unique. Now to put all that together, it was not easy because, if you really see, each incident was like a book by itself. I mean, you can say on Pansing it could have been one book by itself, or Guinness record could have been one by itself. And then, we had to Vijay and me had to work out as to how we could make it into a little smaller version, not exactly because we didn't want the readers to get too bored also, because the attention span of the people these days is not that much. When we did that, unfortunately, in the fag end of the chapters, he was detected with cancer, and then it slowed down. But then finally, when we got into it, he was like, we were summarizing the entire chapters when he incredulously asked me, he says, Veena, did I really do all this? Which is like, for him, he couldn't believe, because he was just working for the nation and for the passion of his work. And that's when we got the book together, and then unfortunately we could not publish it. I had to look for publishers, and fortunately we got a publisher who was excited about the book. And it was not just publishing, we have a new rule in the government where the government officer has to take permission from the government before he publishes any book. For Vijay's book, it was not easy because it was not just one department. He had worked for many departments. He started off with Madhya Pradesh government, then he went on to the Special Protection Group. From there he went to Indo-Tibetan Border Police. Then he went to the J&K government. After that he went to the BSF and then to the CRPF. So getting all the permissions and everything together, but by God's grace I would say, and I think to some extent Vijay has also been helping me from above, I was able to get the book all together, stitched together and present it, because I believe that his book is very inspirational, because he has actually shown to the world that you can turn challenges into opportunities. So that's how the book has come about.
Ma'am, you are his first boss's daughter. How did you meet?
Well, actually Vijay was, before he got into the IPS, he had appeared for the UPSC, where he cleared the Indian Ordnance Factory Service, and he was there as an assistant manager in the administrative side. He was posted to a small place. I mean, like my father was a general manager and he was the assistant general manager probationer. Of course, I used to be very busy with my hockey and my college. I was studying in Nagpur, but I used to come down and we used to play badminton together and sometimes have a cricket match or something like that. But there again you will see Vijay was so mature at his age of 24. He had gone up to my father directly even before he spoke to me. And he says, I want to marry your daughter. So my father was like, hello, have you asked my daughter? So he says, no. He says, then why don't you first ask my daughter, then you come to me? But he says, no sir, I don't want you to hear from others about your daughter. So I thought I'll seek your permission. And after that, I got to know him, and then that is what actually made me feel that this is a man with courage, who without, even asking me, had the guts to go to his boss. He could have lost his job, actually, if you see. But he didn't, because my father was appreciative that he was very bold and courageous to come and ask me directly, and before people would gossip about it. And this is, I'm talking about in the 70s.
He was earning his medals.
Yeah, he was earning his medals. First. Okay, that's how we met him.
So, ma'am, I had the privilege of working with sir, and sir had showered a lot of affection on me. My interaction with him was, my understanding of sir was that he was very, very upright, and to the extent of being idealistic. And certain parts I would like to read out in the book. Even educated people hold the police, blaming them for all the ills of society. It brought to mind Shakespeare's poignant observation in Julius Caesar. The evil that man do lives after them. The good is often interred with their bones. But sadly, the drawbacks are magnified out of proportion, while the achievements and the positive contribution to society are not even acknowledged. Police work is a challenge from all sides. Did he pay a price for being idealistic?
Yes. When he was ASP, I think Dabra, he's mentioned that incident. There was a dacoit, Devi Singh, and he was actually like Vijay. For him, it was the first time. He was a man from Kerala, boy from Kerala, just out of the institute, and he really didn't know how he is going to go about. So he thought he's going to uphold the law, because he was taught that in the institutions, in NPA, that you have to uphold the law, go by the constitution, protect human rights, and things like that. So, I'll just read out how he writes is, somehow after a lot of persuasion, they agreed that, sorry, that's enough. He says, I am still carrying the commitment to uphold the law, protect human rights, behave as the Constitution expects me to. Was it possible before my eyes? Some of them were really getting ready for violence. Fortunately, there were some senior constables and sub-inspectors with us who pacified these chaps. They protested, they are crooks, they should be killed. Why should we let them go? We tried to convince them that we must arrest them, take them back to the police station, and let the matter be resolved in a courtroom. But they argued this would never work, because they would bribe the authorities and get away. They must be killed. So my mind was in a turmoil. What am I doing? Am I doing the right thing? And why is there so much anger against him from the lower constabulary? Is it genuine? Is this the sense, discipline that we have in the police? These were the thoughts crossing my mind on the bullock cart ride. I was on the verge of being manhandled by my constables for having taken this stand. Luckily, there were sub-inspectors who were able to restrain them. Now, this was when he actually got the dacoit to surrender and put him behind bars. But after some time, after a few years, a few months, he had a call from that area where this dacoit was caught, that there has been a murder. And when he went there to actually look at the murder, investigate the murder, he found the person was cut into pieces, and there was a note left for him, "This is my present to you." And it was his informer who was dead. So that is when Vijay sort of, was really shattered. Because he said, I was going as per the law, but this is not what happened. So he felt that, that in the policing, like you all have been seeing, that people the society looks at the police, oh, they are very harsh, very dehumanized, they don't look at it. But I think the circumstances make them like that. They have to be little strict, they have to be harsh. So that is what he felt that his, idealistic way of having a problem.
True. Ma'am, Pan Singh Tomar encounter has been very vividly been portrayed in the book. In fact, a full chapter with lots of pictures have been shown there. I'll read a small part of it. SP without a moustache. I got a good sense of this because they would often sit on their hunches in a group outside to gather their thoughts after meeting me, and their conversation could be heard quite clearly through the window in my room. Aato moda dikhto hai, but he looks like a kid. हाँ, इसके तो मूंछ भी नहीं. He doesn't even have a moustache. They were surprised because a person in authority was expected to be broad and hefty. Better still if he had a big belly. But more important were the solid dimensions. My only advantage was my height. My frame was lean. And what sort of wimpy man would not sport a moustache? He called us aap. They were not used to cultured language from a person of authority. An SP of solid worth had to fit into their expectations, and I did not. My chaps were listening to with amusement. "आ कैसे डकैत मारेगा?" How is he ever going to kill any dacoits? Apparently, they got a clear sense that I was not a killer, and then came another observation, quite a sensible one actually. पण आने तो हाई कोर्ट में वकील को मारे होए. He beat up the lawyers in the High Court in Gwalior. They were impressed because I had confronted the lawyers whom they saw as people of higher authority. I don't know whether winning over a lawyer is considered equivalent to killing a dacoit. But they were sitting together, nodding their turbaned heads, and the consensus was clear. I was not up to the mark. So, we have a clean-shaven young IPS officer who challenged Pan Singh to surrender, and eventually, when he did not agree to the surrender, to eliminate him. What was his reaction? What was the conversation that you had after the encounter?
Actually, what happened is after the encounter, or either before the encounter, I can tell you, like we were there and we would go for morning walks, Mrs. Ajmani, Mrs. Handa and me. And it was a normal feature. Informers came and said, ki abhi yahan pe dakat hai, wahan dakat hai. So they used to push off in the evening looking for the dacoits. And if the informer would not be necessary correct information, so they had to come back empty-handed. But then wahan pe they used to stay in the rest house, have some parathas and all that and come back. So now that day, they didn't come back the normal time. So we were sort of discussing ki how come it's so late and they haven't come. And when we said, okay, so we went back to our homes, and then I called the control room, because those days there were no mobiles, nothing. We had to get information from the control room. So when I called up the control room and said ki, okay, Sahab kahan hai, where is he? So he said, Sahab, madam, aapko malum nahi, encounter chal raha hai. And like till then, because Vijay used to protect me from all these little informations, if the dacoit ko mara hai, or whatever it is. And for the first time I suddenly realized, oh, wo jo sitti pitti goal ho jati वैसे मेरी हो गई. Because I had never imagined that Vijay would be there in midst of the encounter. And he says, आपको मालूम नहीं है, 9 डकैत मर गए हैं, हमारे 2 सिपाही घायल हो गए हैं. And like for me, I really didn't know what to do. And that is the time, first time I realized what is to be shit scared actually. And then he came back home. And that's when I said, okay, kya hua? He says, I'll talk to you later, not now. Okay, I'll tell you later. But in usi samay, he got a call from Mr. Madhurav Sindhya. I mean, like in those days, used to get a call connected, Sahab, Hawana se call hai. And Vijay wondering at this point of time, Hawana se kaun baat karna chahta hai mujhse? He says, to acha, wahan se then said ki, sir, Raman Sahab baat kar rahe hain? Say, haan, Maharaj baat karna chahte hain. So Mr. Sindhya was always referred to as Maharaj in the Gwalior region. So Vijay was wondering, why is he talking from Hawana? Then he says, do you know, Vijay, what you have done is excellent. Very good job done. But the international press is looking at this as an athlete was, disseminated. But then, that's what he felt, that the society was looking at him, I mean the elite society was looking at him as an athlete. But if you really see, he had spoiled many villagers' lives and actually massacred a lot of people. So from his point of view, he was doing his job. But at the same time, he did have empathy for Pan Singh Tomar. So these are very few things he would discuss because he felt I should be insulated from the other things.
Like most police officers.
Yes.
Ma'am, as a very young IPS officer, सर का जो exposure रहा, वो डकैती क्षेत्र में रहा, और चंबल क्षेत्र में, और उन्होंने जैसे देवी सिंह का किस्सा आपने बताया, या अब पान सिंह तोमर का हुआ, और डकैतों से लड़ते लड़ते और उनको एलिमिनेट करते करते ये अचानक दिल्ली पहुंच गए और वहाँ प्रोटेक्ट करने लगे भारत के सबसे बड़े वीआईपी को। और वो भी एक नहीं, एक प्रधानमंत्री नहीं, 1 2 3 4 प्रधानमंत्री आपने नाम लिए, मैं भी बोल देता हूँ फिर से श्रोताओं के लिए। सबसे पहले राजीव गांधी, उसके बाद वीपी सिंह साहब, उसके बाद फिर चंद्रशेखर जी, और फिर पीवी नरसिम्हा राव साहब। तो जान लेते लेते जान बचाना, और वहाँ जब गए तो उनके तो बहुत सारे डिग्निटरीज के साथ इंटरेक्शन हुए होंगे, इंसिडेंसेस बहुत सारे होंगे, कोई मजेदार इंसिडेंस या इंस्टेंस बताना चाहेंगे आप?
Fortunately, I mean, like, he was actually there in those days. SPG में जब first time SPG बना था, so the officers were picked up from all over the country. The best officers were picked up and, inducted in SPG. So like he would say, कि देखो मैं एक समय रवाइंस में 20-20 किलोमीटर चलता था, बुलक कार्ट पे बैठता था, आज देखो मैं जेट सेट घूम रहा हूँ. He used to go around with the Prime Minister going to America, कभी कहीं कुछ. So I can, narrate one incident about he went for Chogam. तो राजीव गांधी जी के साथ गए थे वो. तो वहाँ पे, they have this conference में. So I will just read it out. So in his words only, I would like you to hear what he has to say. I had the opportunity to see the heads of states of various global governments closely, including Nelson Mandela, Margaret Thatcher, Libyan revolutionary Gaddafi, and many others. One of the most interesting incidents he narrated to me was, that when he went to Bahamas for the Chogam, protocol was for all escort teams to walk with their heads of the state to a certain point in the conference venue, after which the local police took over, escorting them to their designated seats. The local police were escorting Gaddafi to the seat when they somehow fell into an altercation with Gaddafi's security force, who refused to follow protocol and stopped at the designated spot. Gaddafi was known for his cadre of about 30 fierce women, not men, and known as Amazonian guards for his protection. They were believed to have taken oaths of virginity and were dressed in camouflage with nail polish, coiffured hair, and heavy mascara. One of these Amazonian women jumped up like a cat on one of the local security guards and bit his ear. Now what a shock, because they were prepared for guns, but not biting women. No, Gaddafi's Amazonian guard proceeded to escort him to the designated seat, while the local police moved to the back of the room where police personnel from all other countries were standing. Vijay noticed that he was standing next to the man who had been bitten, saw that his ear was bleeding, and inquired, "Hope that's not too painful." But the man laughed and said, "I'm not worried about the pain, but how am I going to explain to my wife that a woman bit my ear? That is going to be more dangerous than the bite."
Rare moments, no? When so much of humor also in the book.
Yeah, he had a great sense of humor, actually.
Ma'am, it's extremely rare for a police officer to have a Guinness World Record in his name, and that a police officer, and that too on speed driving.
Yeah.
So how did he think about it? How did he attempt it? And what were the experiences?
Actually, he was working the Prime Minister's security at that time, and he had a colleague, Mr. Kapila. His brother was a Himalayan car rally driver. So he had just won that, and he come back, and like, you know, he came and to meet his brother. And he was telling Raman साहब देखो मैं जीत के आया हूँ. तो Vijay sir, very well done, congratulations. But अब थोड़ा सा ऊपर का आगे का कुछ सोचो, बड़ा करो, अपने देश के लिए कुछ करो. I mean, that was just an off-the-cuff remark probably, and he forgot about it. After a month or two, this gentleman came back, Naveen came back to him and said, sir, मेरे को मिल गया, हमको क्या करना है? So he says, क्या करना है? बोले, हम लोग Guinness record तोड़ेंगे. Vijay says, Guinness record तोड़ेंगे, कैसे? बोले, नहीं, there's a, you know, they have different items where you can actually break the records. So this was circumnavigation of the, by car. So he says, by car, he says, yes. So circumnavigation is 6 continents, you have to do 40,075 kilometers around the world, and like you can't go up and down the same road and say कि हमने कर लिया, you know, everywhere like that. So he said, अच्छा चलो आप तो देखो Prime Minister के साथ सब जगह घूमते हैं. Those days there was no Google, there was no internet, nothing. So because Vijay used to be traveling with the Prime Minister to many countries, he knew a lot of roads, and left side hand drive hai, kabhi right hand side hai. So you know, all those kind of things. So he was like, sir, aap mere ko plan karke dijiye, we will go to. So Vijay was actually initially just planning for him, and gradually, because they had to take maps and decide which route, because the car also went with them. They cannot have the car traveling separately and him and the crew started. So there were 3 people, the main driver and a navigator and third person, 3 people could go. So they decided that Mr. Naveen Kapila was actually the Himal carrier. So Vijay was like supposed to be a navigator, come the second driver like that. And third person they took was a mechanic, kabhi kuch ho jaye ya kuch hai. But in those, you know, like very primitive style they went, and but they chose an Indian car because the British army had the record of going in a very fancy this thing. So they wanted to do it in Indian cars, so to prove to the world that Indians are no less. And that's how it all started, and they planned, and they had to get all the permissions from various embassies, get it. And when I can just tell you one very, you know, interesting incident is when they reached Australia, they were from coast to coast, they were doing it in 8 days, which was like impossible for anyone to think because it's a huge country. So, continent actually. So, when they reached there, the immigration officer asked them, ki, okay, why have you come? They were questioning the normal questions. And they said, ki, you know, we have come to break the Guinness record. He says, which car are you driving? So he said, Contessa, we have never heard of that. So he says, no, it's an Indian car. Oh, you mean you're going to do it in an Indian car? No chance. He says, I'll lay a bet of $100. So they said, okay. $100, and then you know the car is quarantined, and then after that they have to go. So in fact, all these 39 days, their flight, their quarantine, everything is included. So it's not that you know that everything is part of it. They're not deducted from it. So they did coast to coast, came back, and lo and behold, that immigration officer was waiting at the counter. He had arranged his duty on that day. And he says, you've come back? He says, yes, we have come back. So he promptly took out a $100 bill and gave it to them. And they also said, see, we did it. And they went to the duty-free shop, got some gifts for him from that $100 and gave it back to me. I said, don't underestimate Indians, okay? So that is how it was.
आपको घुमाया उस कंटेसा में उन्होंने?
अगर मैं जाती तो रिकॉर्ड ना बनता.
नहीं, बाद में कभी
नहीं, बाद में तो वो घूमना थोड़ी घूमना होता है.
हाँ, उस स्पीड में तो घूमना नहीं हो पाता. Sir, from SPG, sir moved to the troubled state of, and that time it was extremely troubled, Jammu and Kashmir, and he had 3 different stints there. One as the security in charge of the then Chief Minister Farooq Abdullah. And the second time when this fence was being erected there, and the third time was, and it's very beautifully written about the mastermind or the perpetrator of the Indian Parliament attack in 2001, Ghazi Baba, also known as Osama of India, when he was eliminated. So I'll read a small part in the book Uh, we sat out once more after a few days in a Tata Sumo with the PSO next to my driver, Harinder, and the informer sitting to my right on the back seat. Arriving in the area, he directed us towards a small alley. All of a sudden he yelled, "Janab, there he is. That is Ghazi Baba." I did have an idea of what Ghazi Baba looked like from news reports. In 2000 when the Parliament House attack took place, I was posted as IG BSF Jammu. I happened to be on tour to Rajouri at the time and remember my DG asking me if I'd heard the news. A week or so later, I was visiting one of the units and sitting for a while in the recreation room for the constabulary. I leafed through some magazines. One of them was a Hindi India Today that carried a photograph of Ghazi Baba with a woman playing with a child. It also mentioned that the girl was his third wife and she belonged to Tral. Yes, this was the same man. We clearly had Ghazi Baba right in front of us. I tapped Harinder's shoulder saying, "Roko, stop the car." I had my hand on the door handle and was opening the door, ready to leap out when my informer grabbed my forearm in a tight grip and shouted urgently, "Hurry, drive fast, jaldi jaldi, we must leave immediately." There was panic in his voice and Harinder was absolutely clear in his mind whose orders he should follow. Without the slightest hesitation, he stepped on the accelerator, driving like a madman, and got us back home in about 20 minutes instead of the usual 30. Would you like to say something on this?
Well, it was a tough time for him because he had to take a decision he wanted to basically, and that the informer said, no, this is not the right time because he's strapped with all the explosives. So it would have been very dangerous for everybody. Vijay was one of those few, one of the officers who always believed that he took learnings even from his juniors. So I would like to read what he has talked about because even when he was an ASP Dabra, he was new, he didn't know how he was going to manage the crowd which was agitating, protesting, and he listened to his juniors and he managed to, help the crowd move away. And this is something which I would like to read, is how he listened, a simple thing which his subordinate suggested. See, the firing was on and the terrorists were inside the building and some of his men were also injured. So that is the time now he was trying to figure out how to get his own men out of the building. And when suddenly, like he says, Ghazi Baba had designed for his escape. It was only, building was demolished in the operation, that staircase was exposed. But as long as Trivedi and Binu Chandran, they were the two officers who were stuck in the building because they were injured, there was no way we could blow it up. My mind was fixated on how to get my officers down. One of the constables standing with me that evening happened to be a Keralite like me, and he said, "Sir, we have so many battalions around. Why don't we collect mattresses from them and stack up 100 mattresses against the wall? Then we can tell the officers on the roof to come to the edge and jump on the mattress." Yes, a great idea. But I had to take the credit for the idea myself because if I had said, "Wow, this constable has a great idea, go quickly bring all the mattresses you can find," the DIG and the commandants would have scoffed. How can a constable have a good idea? Unfortunately, this is the way our forces work. I gave the order, and while the men were enthusiastically arranging for the soft landing, I got one of the injured boys on the wireless. Because you see, when even the terrorists are on the same frequency sometimes. So he sort of thought of that. See, as fate would have it, one of the boys stranded on the top of the building, a deputy commandant rank officer, was also a Keralite. I spoke to Binu in Malayalam, telling him we knew that they were injured, but were arranging a soft fall for them, and asked whether they would be able to roll to the side of the terrace and jump out, slip over the edge to where the mattresses were being laid out. "We'll be there to hold you," I reassured him, and we were. The ambulances were waiting, doctors were waiting, and they were rushed to the hospital where others who had been injured were also being treated. So he was very, always listening absorbing ideas not only from his seniors or colleagues but also from his juniors. So this is an example of that, which I feel was very important in his career.
Ma'am, you speak about the proverbial 9 lives of a cat in the preface itself. So there are many instances, or I would like to recite one from the book. One day I had to go for a meeting. This is Kashmir.
Yeah.
One day I had to go for a meeting and reviewing some papers in the car, did not realize that the driver had taken us on the other route. When I asked him why, he seemed evasive, nothing convincing. Then he disclosed that he had received a message when I was in another meeting. There had been a bomb blast on the route I always preferred to take. He told me what the message said, describing all the damage done and the number of people killed and injured. When I came down after the meeting, my vehicle was waiting for me. The first thing I did was to apologize to my driver for blasting him. By this, the news had spread and everyone knew about the vicious explosion. My security staff had been assigned to me. I had not selected them myself. I had no connections with J&K and did not know anybody here before I arrived. I had come in a senior position and they had picked the boys they thought were appropriate. I never cross-checked their background, their religion, nothing. The point I'm making here is that they may have been aware that something was going to happen and they had not told me, perhaps not wanting to be questioned, but being aware they took due precautions. This was just one example of the sharp efficiency of the Jammu and Kashmir police. So some other...
Yeah, actually, when he passed away, I was a bit disturbed. My son, said ki, Mom, why are you feeling so sad? I mean, we had him for a much longer time than we could have had, because he lived like a cat lives for 9 lives. They have 9 lives like that. So when he was an ASP, there was a bomb thrown and he was saved in that. After that, the Bansing encounter, it was a crossfire between the police and the dacoits. Then he was also he was here in Bhopal when the gas tragedy happened and he was going to pick up his parents. So it could have happened then. And also like in the Guinness record, he has a major accident in Sagar where, he was injured, his windscreen was broken. I mean, anything could have happened. So there are many incidents which came to my mind, and that's how I said, my son said he has lived, all those incidents he's gone through, but then we had him for many years. So now I look back and say, yes, I have good memories, and that's how it is.
I return back to dacoits again. Dacoits के बारे में बहुत सारी बातें लिखी हुई ना, तो एक किस्सा आता है.
Sir, I really don't want to interrupt. The stories are amazing, but we are a little short.
I understand. This would be perhaps my second last question. तो मलखान सिंह, दस्यु सम्राट, दशमेश, अशोक, मलखान सिंह, बड़ी बड़ी मूछें हुआ करती थी. उसने आप चिट्ठी लिख करके ये धमकी दी थी कि विक्रम को अगवा कर लेंगे. और फिर बाद में जब आप लोग दिल्ली में थे तो वो आया आपके यहाँ और आकर के पैर छुए थे उसने सर के. बंदूक लेके आया था वो.
Yeah, that is a very, very interesting, and it speaks volumes. His, like when we were in Bhind, like when I was cleaning his pant pockets one day, I found a letter which was crumpled in his pocket, and I just opened it and said, "Kya hai?" Dekha, this was Dasyu Malkhan Singh. He had a letterhead in which he had mentioned that आपका एक ही बेटा है, आप मेरे family को तंग करना बंद करो, नहीं तो उसको हम उठा के लेके जाएंगे. And I was like shocked, and I said, Vijay, what is this? So he took it, he took it and tore it up. And ऐसे तो बहुत चिट्ठियाँ आती हैं, don't worry about it. But for me it was really very shocking, but he just took it in his stride, and later on Malkhan Singh surrendered and he was in jail, and then Vijay was posted in SPG. We were staying on the 8th floor in Delhi. When one day on a Sunday he sort of, we were all watching, Doordarshan ki movie hoti thi us din. So hum log teenon, fortunately Vijay was at home in those days, and the bell rang and my son Vikram went and opened the door, and he found there were 4 people with guns and mustache and all that, very hefty guys, and they said, Raman Saab yahan rehte hain. And Vikram was a little thinking, why the man with gun? Because in cities you don't see people with, going around with guns. So he says, हाँ, आप कौन? तो बोले Malkhan Dadda. So Vikram was a little, like, okay. Then he quickly shut the door because we were living in a flat, and he went and told Papa, koi Malkhan Dadda hai. Vijay was wondering, how would Malkhan, I only know one fellow, and that is Malkhan Singh, and why would he come to Delhi to meet us? Anyway, he went and opened the door, and lo and behold, Malkhan Singh was waiting there, and then Vijay had to invite him inside, because not unlike your districts where you have a separate room for people to meet you. So that's when he brought him in and sat down, and he says, "Acha, aap kaise hain?" And nice pleasantries he exchanged, and he said, नहीं हाँ साहब, मैं आपको सिर्फ ये बताने आया हूँ कि मेरा जो शर्त नहीं थी कि आपका मैं ट्रांसफ़र कराऊँ, because I believe when the surrender took place, it's in the newspapers, it was there, the first condition was that Vijay Raman should be transferred. So Vijay said, it's fine, you were doing your job, I was doing my job, it's just fine with me. And that's when I was sitting there because I was very scared, because he had come with a gun. Whether he's come with a, take a revenge or what is, one doesn't know. So I was sitting there listening to it, and he said, twice he repeated, sir, aapka merit condition nahi thi. That's when I realized that even the outlaws, criminals, everyone, they respect you for your integrity and your valor and your bravery.
Ma'am, this would be my last question. In his very long and illustrious career, it is rather impossible that he did not make any mistake. Or did he ever lament to something, some galti or something with you?
Yeah, I mean, there were, firstly he wanted to be a lawyer, and which he couldn't because his father wanted him to be a gazetted officer. He was offered a job for 25,000 in those days, but he took up a 700 rupee job. And the other thing he always felt was, in the Naxal operations in Chhattisgarh, when he lost many men in Dantewada case, that really hit him hard, because he sort of held himself responsible that his men, because he's a very men's man, so he felt very upset about that. Of course, there are many incidents, but now there's short of time, so I will not go on. And but this is there that yes, I mean, he was, after all, a human being, right? He would have made mistakes, and he was caught on the wrong foot once when there was a CRPF agitation going on, and his DG, so his DG called him, and then he felt bad. How was I not so alert? So these are things which he told me about.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us this wonderful insight into Sir's career, Sir's life. Thank you, audience, for this patience listening, and thank you, organizers. Raghav sir aa gaye hain yahan pe, for giving me this opportunity. To ask certain questions to Madam. I mean, I'm privileged. I worked with Sir, and I revere him as one of my mentors. I would close this session with his saying, Sir's saying, "Yet it is he who said, take courage in your hands. If you want something, did what he did was right, and also believed that winning without challenges was victory, but winning, overcoming challenges was history." Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much to our speakers. What a wonderful session it has been. Can we give them a huge round of applause once again, ladies and gentlemen? In this session, we explored the spirit of a hero, Vijay Ramanji, a man who upheld justice with unwavering determination that left his enduring legacy for generations to come. Our deepest gratitude to Veena Ramanji, who has immortalized this remarkable story through her heartfelt memoir. Thank you so much for shining light on the values and the sacrifices that make true heroes. And we are also profoundly grateful for Pawan Srivastavaji, whose insightful questions and reflections added a rich layer of understanding to this conversation. Your thoughtful engagement brought life to this session. Thank you so much to all of our speakers.
Give a big hand to Pawanji also.
He really deserves a big hand. And while you were sharing the stories, we truly felt the tension, we truly felt the suspense, the laughter and the joy while you were telling. Everything was real. And ma'am, you're a great storyteller. We could imagine like when the car was chasing, when the gun was in the front on the head. And amazing session. Thank you so much, everyone. Can we give them a huge round of applause again, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, now our speakers have a question for the audience they'll ask, and if you know the answer, please raise your hand, and if you win, you will get Living an Enriched Life by Dale Carnegie, an amazing book, a transformative book. So our speaker will ask a question to the audience now.
Anything based on your experience, expertise, just ask a general knowledge question.
From the book?
The audience, no, anything from anywhere. Just take the mic and ask a general question. Based on policing, anything. It's a kind of a quiz. It's for students.
Okay.
Okay.
So only one question? Each?
Did you ask? Kursi pucho na pe.
So what is unique about Iceland? Ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
अच्छा और ये क्विज ये क्वेश्चन आउट नहीं किया था मैम को. मैम हैज आल्सो बीन माय बॉस.
A huge piece of ice that is separated from the from the
सर मैडम लोग आपका आंसर जो है
or South Pole or North Pole that is detached and floating on the this one the
Mic
ocean.
सामने रखिए.
Okay, sorry.
You also raise hand.
नमस्कार. मैम, जिस मलखान सिंह की आप बात कर रही हैं, मैं डीके जन रिटायर्ड डिस्ट्रिक्ट सेशन जज. मैं ग्वालियर में पोस्टेड था. मेरी कोर्ट में मलखान सिंह आया करता था. मैं नहीं पहचानता था. वो डिकॉइट्स जो आतंक के पर्याय हुआ करते हैं, जिससे लोग थर थर काँपते हैं, तो अदालत में आते तो किस पोजीशन में आते मैं जानता हूँ. मैं डाइस पे बैठा देखता था, बहुत खूबसूरत सा एक बड़ी मूछों वाला, और हमारे राय बाबू के पास में खड़ा हुआ करता था, क्रिमिनल लीडर के पास में. मैं बोलता था, शुड आई स्पीक इन इंग्लिश? हिंदी समझेंगी ना?
सर सॉरी सर, पर हम लोग आइसलैंड के बारे में बात करना चाह रहे थे.
आई एम सॉरी.
व्हाट इज सो यूनिक अबाउट
नहीं
आइसलैंड?
सॉरी, मैं समझा, सॉरी.
सो टिल नाउ वी हैव नॉट रिसीव्ड एनी आंसर. सो आई मैम आप बोलना चाहेंगे? जी मैम.
आइसलैंड में बाथ टब्स को नहाने के लिए नहीं, बुक्स रखने के लिए यूज किया जाता है.
क्या बात है, क्या बात है. एक और प्राइज मिला मैडम को. थैंक यू.
Okay. Ma'am, please come to receive your prize, a book.
And we finished in time.
Yeah. Yes. The book is An Enriched Life by Dale Carnegie, a timeless guide to cultivating enthusiasm. As we conclude this deeply enriching session, I would like to request Dr. Shalini Mahajan ji, a member of the Society for Culture and Environment, to please present our esteemed speakers with a memento as a token of our gratitude. Padma Shri Bhil artist Bhuri Baiji has created this artwork for BLF 2025 depicting the connection between nature, earth and human being and the environment. Thank you so much to our incredible speakers for sharing your wisdom, creativity and insights. They have deeply, deeply inspired us.